Okay, we are live. We live right now. Yeah, we're just going to talk for a little bit. This mic monitoring is kind of interesting, but we will go from there. I think we'll just talk, and after we talk, we'll send this to my email, and we will deal with this tomorrow. But I did want to touch on another topic. This is 3 today, but I'll talk about recipes. What really sparked this was I was watching this YouTube video, and the guy was talking about recipes, and he was doing a brisket recipe on a Weber kettle, and he was showing his recipe, like how long, what he did with the trim, his whole thought process of going about cooking the brisket on a Weber kettle. Is it slightly different than you're doing on an offset? Sure it is, but everything works. Every single thing works. It's a recipe. Let me go ahead and look that up real quick for you. A definition. Okay. Here we go. Recipe. A set of instructions for preparing a particular dish, including a list of ingredients required. Something which is likely to lead to a particular outcome. Let's read that one more time. A set of instructions for preparing a particular dish, including a list of ingredients required. So anything will work with a recipe. Think about it. I think that's one of the things that we have to realize with recipes. Everything has a recipe. For instance, we got coffee. There's so many different recipes with the Hario V60, depending on what you want it to come out as. And there's even more variables, especially when you're talking about different coffees, different roast degrees, and whatnot. And no matter what you do, it all works. Or, there are some things that you do have to take into consideration when it comes to recipes. Like there are some things that you won't do. Like, for instance, you won't actually sear off a brisket first before you put it into a smoker. You can, to try to develop a crust early, but it's still going to be sitting in the roaster or the smoker for about 6 to 9 hours. And it can work. It can really work the way you go about it, I think. And I think that's the thing that we have to realize with recipes, with things in general, is that we're trying to achieve an outcome that works for our palate, that works for what we're trying to do. And I think that's extremely important. Earlier today, I had a talk with Raul, and we were talking about different recipes. He was giving me some of his recipes, and I was mentioning my recipes, what I like to do, what I don't like to do. And I base mine off of gear. He bases his off on mostly time. Gear too, because, if it's not at a certain time of finishing, he would go ahead and change a variable in the recipe. So again, all of it does work. And we're getting closer to what that coffee is. And I believe that's one of the things that we have to realize more than anything, is that no matter what we do in life, there's so many different ways and avenues that we can take in order to get to essentially the same goal. Think about that. I think that's extremely important, that we don't lose sight in what we're trying to really do with that recipe. And I think that's one of the things that I started to realize even more so. Like, for instance, I haven't tasted it fully, but it was some vegetable mash. Had all these different types of vegetables in it. It's very thick. I think it'll be great over a bed of rice, or you can just eat it as it is. Did I follow a particular recipe? No. There are some techniques that I did use that will work with most things, but it was more of an exploration, a way to where it was more so curiosity into trying to see if something will taste the way that I think it would through different techniques. So brisket, let's get back to brisket. Brisket is one of those dishes to where you can cook it hot and fast, you can cook it slow. And when you do that, there's different outcomes to it. But for the most part, it all works. And another thing is too, my brother, he made a beef rib. He cooked it for 8 to 9 hours. And it came out fine just by looking at it. And it all works. So I don't know really what else to say about that, but I think at times we lose focus or the true intent of what we're trying to do with the recipe, with things, with food, with beverages. We want it to be, repeatable. But what's the point of doing all that? And I think that's one of the things that I am going to delve into as I go through this journey with this Colombian coffee. Not chasing sweetness, but finding it. How do I essentially get sweetness out of a beverage that's mostly juicy, it's fruity, but it's not sweet? Especially with the way I go about my recipe. And that could be it too. It could be the way I go about using the recipe that I customly use is tending to not bring out the sweetness in coffee in general. That could be it too. And me just talking it out and realizing that could be a big problem. And I think that's part of the self-discovery part that I'm trying to understand as I keep doing things in the same way, the same nature, and expecting different outcome. Wow, that's big. That's really a big eye-opener. Is that, again, we can be stuck in our ways. Somebody could already have figured out sweetness, right? But that's all they taste is sweetness. They don't taste the balance of the acidity. And that's one thing that I'm realizing right now. It's that by the way I actually brew coffee with my recipes that I do, it doesn't allow for a big takeaway into what I'm tasting in a cup. Like a true balance of going about this whole balance and flavorful. Because that's totally different for everybody, right? That's a huge eye opener. And I can't wait to go more into this challenge of understanding recipes, understanding myself. And that's more so like tendencies that we all go through, that we all do. Like we wake up the same way, we put on our shoes the same way, we do things at a certain time, we relax, we chill with friends the same way, we watch TV, we explore, we do all these things to the point where it's all routine. That's crazy. That is really crazy about thinking about things in the way they go about getting closer to what we're trying to do, what we're trying to understand, and really what we are trying to do overall in the world. I don't want to kind of keep rambling, but I think the rambling does help me think things through, kind of put things out there. And I think, especially today, for instance, today was a abnormal day. Had about 4.5 hours of sleep. I did a podcast, walked the dog, did another podcast, cleaned up, did a lot of random stuff. Then I decided to do another podcast. I'm going to take a shower. I'm going to eat some food. And then I'm going to wind down. I'm going to go to sleep. So those are routine things, but so to speak, they're done out of order. They're done in a way to where it's familiar, but still different enough. And I think that's where we're at with this challenge. You know, as I said, that I'm in a rut with coffee, that I'm in a place to where I'm not understanding what's going on, or I do. I'm just tired of doing the same thing. And I'm looking for this challenge to give me a different type of sense of direction in coffee, or just in life in general, right? Kind of like pivot me in a way to where I'm seeing these obstacles that are in front of me and really trying to understand what's going on. And again, I go back and forth if I should post this or not, but if I'm coming on here and talking about processes and focus and drive and challenges and all that stuff, I think this is a big piece of what I'm trying to do and try to understand. And truthfully, the first couple of minutes was there, but then it was forced. And now I think I'm on a journey that it is bigger than me. And I think me talking this out in this podcast, more than writing it can get sometimes, it's more, I wouldn't say forgiving. It's more eye-opening. How just thinking things out, understanding, and using this medium of art to truly express myself. Again, I'm kind of everywhere. And I think the biggest takeaway is that all recipes work, right? That's true. But if you want a particular outcome, you're going to have to tweak something in that recipe. You're going to have to do something differently to the point to where you get what you're looking for. And since I'm trying to find sweetness in coffee, in this particular Colombian coffee, what does that look like? You know, what does that sweetness looks like in espresso, in a Hario V60, in a French press? I think that's where this will make more sense as I keep delving into this logic, this challenge, and this being of a real self-discovery. That's going to be the telling part. And I think just by thinking about this challenge, I'm still not clear about the growth that is going to happen in me. Probably I do need to change some type of recipe that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. Tweaking something, changing something, getting more present. I don't know what that may look like. And I don't have to have it figured out right now. And I think that's the beauty of all of this stuff, as I try to slowly, hopefully, figure out as I go through this journey. Yeah. I think that's a good stopping place. We'll let it come to us as the days go by. Talk to you later. Bye.